welcome to the part 2 of my question and answer video. If you did not see part 1, make sure you check out the link in the description because it's got just as much information as this one has. I still have a ton more questions to get to, so I am going to go ahead and get started. Do any of your students' parents ask you about your YouTube channel, or have they ever seen them before? So personally, I've never had a parent ask me about it. Obviously, I just started it this past summer, so this is my first year doing that and teaching. I have had students come up to me that I've had a couple years ago tell me that they found my YouTube videos. I just kind of brush it off. I'm not really too worried about that, but no, I've never had a parent come up to me and say that they found it. I don't imagine why anyone would have a problem with it, but who knows? Do you have planning time with your grade level teachers to split up some of the planning? So yes, we do have planning time together. That's what our PLC meetings are for on Wednesday mornings. We have about an hour together. Now we plan together and we plan the actual topics that we're going to be teaching, but we don't split up the planning, if that makes sense. So we each do our own thing. We do very similar things, but we each kind of do it a different way. So we do plan the topics together, but the actual planning per se takes place on our own. Do you go through a ton of black ink with the papers you design? Okay, I need to do a whole video on printing tips because I have been through this. I have gone through tons of ink cartridges, and I'm going to share with you guys some great tips that I have for printing. So I will do a whole video on this. The answer is no, I don't. What is your classroom like diversity-wise? Do you work in a low-income demographic? Yes, I do work in a low-income demographic. I work at a Title I school, so that means the vast majority of the students are on free and reduced lunch. Currently this year, my classroom is about 70% African-American, probably about 25% white, and then 5% like Asian or Hispanic. The first year of school, how much money did you spend on your classroom? I hate to admit this, but probably over $1,000, maybe as much as $2,000, so somewhere in between there. How do you balance work and your relationship? This is also kind of a hard question to answer because I don't think I'm the best at balancing it. I will say my boyfriend and I have been together for over 3 years. We started dating when basically I was starting my student internship. So it worked out really well because he's never seen me when I wasn't teaching. It's just always been a factor in our relationship. And I will say I'm extremely grateful because he's very accommodating and very understanding when it comes to me working a lot. Now, unfortunately, we work very opposite hours. So a lot of times I go to school and he goes to work at 3. So when I come home, he's normally not here. He works from like 3 to 11 most nights. So a lot of times we don't get to spend a lot of time together during the week. He is off on Wednesdays and Thursdays, so I do get to spend time with him on those days, and that's why I don't stay late at work those days. I come home right away so I can spend time with him. And then on the weekends, we do have some time together. Sometimes he's off on Sundays, sometimes he works both days. It just depends. But it kind of works out well because then when he's working, it gives me an opportunity to film or to work on TPT products or to lesson plan. How do you budget? I wish I could say I do, but honestly, I don't. Personally, a lot of the money I spend in my classroom comes from money I've made on TPT, so I don't feel so bad spending it. But my first year of teaching before I started selling on TPT, it was very hard because I wasn't making a lot of money and I had all these bills to pay, and honestly, I just kind of prioritized and bought the things that I had to have now, and anything else I would try to save up for it. How do you balance your workout regimen with teaching? Again, that is something that I still struggle with. First of all, fitness has always been a huge part of my life, so it's not really something I'm willing to sacrifice. No matter what I have to do, I'm gonna find a way to make it work with my schedule. Now, my workout regimen has changed. When I first started teaching, I was a distance runner, I was a marathon runner, and my first year of teaching, I was still running marathons, and it was very, very difficult just because of the exhaustion that I faced and trying to get in time for long runs. So after my first year of teaching, I decided to give up marathon running for a while, and I decided to transition into weightlifting, and that's still currently what I'm doing. I'm currently training for a powerlifting meet, and it's still hard. Now I probably lift about 5 days a week, so I lift both days on the weekend, and then I normally will take maybe Monday off because Monday usually I like to stay late at school, and then sometimes I'll take off either like Tuesday or Wednesday. It just depends on my schedule. But basically I figure out what days do I need to stay late at school, and I make my workout schedule work around that. Any interview, resume, and portfolio tips? I have a ton, way too much to include in just this video. So I am gonna make a video all about interviewing and portfolios and resumes because I need to update my resume and my portfolio since I'm gonna be interviewing soon for a new position. So I will make a video all about that. I promise it will be coming. What's your tip for getting homework done? Thankfully this year, I'm actually extremely grateful to have a class where everyone just does their homework on their own. I know that that's not the case for a lot of people, and that's not always the case for me. Because I am at a Title I school, it's actually very rare to find a class where everyone does their homework, and in my past 2 years, I have had classes where the kids were not doing homework. I personally am not a big supporter of homework, so I'm not super hard on them for it. Like, I do think it's important just to build the responsibility, but at the same time, I completely understand that some of them do not have the support at home to be able to do it. But something I have tried before for spelling homework is if they do their spelling homework the whole week and they turn it in on time, I will do a drawing of all those students on Friday, and I pick out one student, and as long as that student did their homework all week, I make them not take the spelling test. So that's worked pretty well. You could also do something similar with any other homework that you give. What is your favorite thing to do outside of teaching on your own time? Either going to the gym and lifting weights, or also making TPT products for me is like fun. Like, that's my idea of a really exciting Friday night, is working on TPT products. What are your favorite books for read aloud? So I do read aloud to my students about 15 minutes every single day. I refuse to cut that out. I love reading aloud to my students. It's one of the things that I absolutely love as a teacher. Plus, a lot of my students don't get the opportunity to be read aloud to at home. So it is super important to me. So here are some of my favorites. At the beginning of the year, I always read The One and Only Ivan. Absolutely love this book, and my students always loved it. I highly recommend it if you have not read it before. I also like to do a series. So one of my favorites is All of the Fudge Books by Judy Blume. My students really enjoy these because they are really funny, and I really enjoy reading series because I think it's important for a kid to find a series that they really enjoy because it gives them a lot more options to read. So this is one that I'm gonna do next. I have not personally read this before, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane, but I've heard absolutely amazing things about it. So I will update you guys once I actually read it aloud and let you know what I thought, but I've heard great things, so I'm really excited to read that one. And last year, I read this book at the end of the year, Fish in a Tree. And last year, it was the first time I read this book, but my students did really enjoy it. Now, my class last year was a lot more mature than my class this year, so I don't know how my class this year is going to do with it, but we will see. How do you plan engaging activities for your students? So personally, I believe that if I'm not excited to teach a lesson, I can't expect my students to be excited to learn it. So I like to kind of step back and take the perspective of my students when I'm lesson planning and think, okay, if I was sitting in the class, would I be bored or would I be engaged? And if I would be bored, I find some kind of way to make it more interesting. And engagement doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be really, really simple. Honestly, one of my favorite ways to engage my students is to speak with some kind of an accent, especially like a British accent. They absolutely love it, and no one will be paying attention, and then suddenly I start speaking in a British accent and I have everyone's attention. So if you are struggling to engage your students, try teaching with different accents. How much does an average first-year teacher make income per year? Honestly, that's really hard to say because it completely depends on where you teach and what state you teach in and what district you teach in. What is your favorite classroom transformation you've done? My favorite has been boot camp. I did it last year for the first time, and I loved it because I got to be super strict as like a drill sergeant, and it was just playing into the character. So I really enjoyed it. Plus, it was great for my boys to get them really engaged, and even my girls absolutely loved it. What is something you wish someone would have told you before you started your first year teaching? I wish someone would have told me that there will be days where you feel like a complete failure, and that's completely normal, because I felt like going into it, I felt like I had to be the best at everything, and that's not gonna happen. Like, even now, I'm not good at everything. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just focus on one thing each school year to get better at, and the rest of it will come in time. How do you do spelling homework? So personally, I have a set spelling homework activity for each night of the week, and it just keeps it a lot more consistent throughout the school year. So Monday night, my students have to do 5 sentences. It's not a lot. I don't like homework, so honestly, for me, that's good enough. On Tuesdays, they do ABC order. Wednesdays, they do what I call word triangles, where they write their word one letter at a time. So for example, if the word was fish, they would write F and then F-I FIS, and then FISH. So when they're done, it makes a triangle. And then Thursday night, they write their words 3 times each. Have you always been this organized and motivated? Yeah, I have. I've just always been very much a type A personality, very much a perfectionist. I'll put it this way, when I graduated high school, I had a 4.2 GPA, and when I graduated college, I had a 4.0 GPA, and that was in 3 years. So I've always been very hyper-focused on things, very organized, and I'm just a self-motivated person. Like, I want to be successful, so I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to make that happen. Do you talk fast with your students? Yes, I do. And I know so many people have commented on this on my videos. I talk fast. I know I'm an energetic person. I'm a very hyper person at times. I talk fast. I'm sorry. I actually try to slow it down for my videos. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I do. So yes, I do talk this fast in front of my students. It's never really been an issue. Again, it gets them excited in the classroom, so sorry. Do you have any kids with special needs? So yes, this year in my classroom, I have a student with autism, and last year I had a student who had seizures like all the time throughout the day. She couldn't go anywhere by herself. She had a one-on-one. She would have several seizures throughout the day. Any advice for someone wanting to start a vlogging channel? Just go for it. I mean, honestly, the best way to get better at it is just to start putting out videos. And I guarantee you, there will be people that will just be attracted to your personality, and they will want to watch your videos because you are you, and there's no one else out there like you. How do you unwind after a long week of school? Wine. Do you use an online gradebook? Yes, everyone in my county uses the same online gradebook, and we use X2. How often do you interact, phone, meet, or email with parents? So personally, I don't make a lot of phone calls. That's kind of a last resort for me. I really don't like making phone calls. I know that sounds horrible, but I've never liked making phone calls to parents. Most of my parents I communicate through Class Dojo, and I would say during the week, I probably send out 2 mass messages that go to all of my parents just with information for upcoming events or anything going on that they need to know about. And individual parents, some of my parents, honestly, I never have any contact with during the school year. Sometimes the parents don't speak English and they're just not involved in the child's education. But most of my parents, I'd say I probably contact them maybe 2 times a week, like individually. It kind of depends on the parent though. How was your first year of being a teacher? I cried a lot. I cried myself to sleep almost every night. I know that sounds horrible. I had a very, very rough year. I had a very rough group of students. I cried a lot. I was overwhelmed a lot, but I survived, and I promise you it gets much better. I know I didn't get to all of the questions. I tried to pick out the ones that I thought most people would be interested in, but I can definitely do another question and answer video sometime in the future. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end and for supporting my YouTube channel. I appreciate it more than you guys realize. If you want to check out any of my older videos, you can use the 2 links right down here. And if you want to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future videos, you can use the link right over here. In the description is the link to all of my social media sites, my Teachers Pay Teacher store, and my Amazon store. And I will catch you guys in my next video.